Joe first. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Good and Terrible Show. My name is Travis.
I'm Mickey.
And we have a special guest for you today. Got another amazing topic that we're talking about. Today is all about comedy. So we're going to be having jokes. And with that, we have a special guest here today. A topic is real near and dear to my heart. He's actually from the same area I am. He is a Baltimore area legend, everybody. We're here to discuss him and interview him, get his topic on. Without further ado, please, everybody, give it up for Thezz Grimes. Yeah. You were supposed to clap, Mickey, but all right. Anyways.
I did.
Introduce yourself for a little bit, Thezz.
What's up, Thezz Grimes from Harford County, Maryland. I guess you want to know how long I've been doing comedy and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Comedy for like 11 years. Travel up and down the East Coast because I don't fly.
So he is a stand-up comic. Today's topic is all about stand-up comedy, and I wanted to bring him on because we're going to be discussing today the state of stand-up comedy in 2021 going into 2022 here. For those of you who are familiar with social media on Facebook and Instagram, if you follow me, I kind of approached this topic a little bit not too long ago, probably about a month or so ago, and I wanted to get his take on it since he's got firsthand experience. And I said that this topic is near and dear to my heart because everybody knows that, I low-key wish I was a stand-up comedian as well. He actually does it. He's braver than I am.
He's actually good at it.
Your mama thinks I'm good. Anyways,
he does.
But he's actually brave enough to get on stage in front of all types of people, white people, black people, whatever kind of people, old people, and tell his jokes. And if you haven't seen his set, you're doing yourself a disservice. Let me just say, I know firsthand he is a big fan of both Royal Farms chicken and Topanga from Boy Meets World. And,
those are so far on the spectrum. It's like, how did they meet?
You think it is, but it's not.
See, you're not a nigga.
You gotta break it down for me.
Real niggas love chicken and Topanga. And if you've grown up or if you've ever visited the Baltimore area, Royal Farms is a big thing out there. Shout out to us. Make sure you collab with us, Royal Farms, if you're watching this video, because we'd love to do some chicken commercials. But just tell them a little bit about how you got into stand-up real quick there.
It was like 2009, and I was just like, I need to do some of this. Being funny, like post funny stuff on Facebook. But my stuff wasn't like a lot of people post stuff on Facebook that's funny, but they stole from other people. My stuff was original. I would just put stuff out there, and status was getting liked and comments, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, I need to do something with this. Either join the circus or do comedy. But being from Harford County 10 years ago, it was very hard to find some place to do comedy. So it took me a while to find some place even remotely close. I found Magoobies when they were in Parkville, Maryland. They would do once a month amateur night shows, like comedy contests. So you'd sign up and they would email you back a date. And then back then it was once a month. So now they do it like once a week. So I signed up, got a day, and had like 4 weeks to prepare, which is pretty cool, I guess, because it wasn't like immediate. So I did the contest. It was like 20 some people. I didn't know anything about comedy, so like no one's ever taught me anything what this is gonna be like and stuff like this. I never asked no questions. So I know no comedians. It was like 20 some people in that contest, which is crazy. And I went last, and I went on close to midnight, and luckily it was a bringer show. A bringer show means you have to bring a certain amount of people to be able to perform. I brought like 50 people that night, which was also, I've been doing, that's a very insane amount of people to bring on the first time ever doing comedy. And probably because of that, I ended up winning. So I can lie and say that my first show ever, I headlined because I went last, and I got paid.
Nice.
Those are two very important things.
I did Magoobies like probably most of the first year I did comedy, and then other people would see me out, and I was able to get other shows, and ended up hosting a show a year after that, hosting a show close near me in Port Deposit. Did that for about 16 months. Got latched on to a comedy group. We were there together for about 2 years, did local shows in Harford County. And ever since then, like there's been so many more comedians come out of Harford County ever since like that group called me funny. So also more shows since then, like people have been putting on shows locally in Harford County, so I don't have to drive as far.
Yeah, you know what the thing is, like the thing that really impressed me is that a couple of things. Number one, I know that you've been traveling a lot. I've seen you know, your events that you've posted. You know, you've been all over the East Coast, like you said. I think you've, you know, been in. I know you come to Virginia. I've seen you, you know, in Pennsylvania. I think you've been up to like New York and Jersey, you know, a couple of times. So you're making a name for yourself. And I don't think the other thing is I don't think people realize how hard of a job stand-up comedy actually is. It's not easy to get up in front of people that you've never met before and make a whole room full of people laugh for, you know, even something like 10, 15 minutes. You know, people think, oh yeah, I can tell a couple of jokes and that'll take up to 10 or 15 minutes. No, you need a lot of material.
Comedy is the longest 5 minutes of your life if no one's laughing.
Right.
That is absolute facts. And in the spirit of comedy, I wanted to kick this thing off with a joke before we got too deep into the topic. Now, real quick, have either of you been on my Facebook today? I want to see if you've actually heard the joke.
Negative.
Okay. It's not my joke, everybody. Disclaimer, this is not my joke. I come up with great jokes, but this is not my joke. But I thought it was hilarious, so I wanted to kick this off. Okay. Listen. What does a nearsighted gynecologist and a puppy have in common?
I don't know.
A wet nose.
Wow.
I don't care. That's funny.
That's a dad joke. No, I don't know if that's a dad joke. Is that that's like a dirty uncle joke.
Yeah, it's like dirty uncle, like at the cookout, the group of uncles that all hang out in the corner, like, hey, come here, man.
Nephew. Come here, nephew.
That's 1,000% who I'm gonna be at the cookout. Wait till I hit 45. I'm gonna be the most littest 45-year-old nigga you know ever met.
Drinking for a local at the cookout in the heat, like, you've had 5. No, I got 1 more. No.
Like, nigga, it's 3:30 in the morning. Why are you drunk? Oh man, I'm sorry. That is funny. Again, that is not my joke. Credits to whoever made that joke up. I read it earlier online. It is hilarious to me. And whoever made that joke up, good props to you. But anyways, so like I said, today we're here to talk about the state of stand-up comedy. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because like we just talked about, I'm a huge fan of comedy. I'm a huge fan of the art of stand-up, and I've watched a lot of interviews from people inside and outside of the craft. Most recently, Dion Cole, if anybody is familiar with him from Blackish.
I love Dion Cole. He was on Comic View so long, and people were like, "Oh, he's new." I'm like, "No, y'all are just late," because he was on Comic View a lot. I think he hosted for a couple of years too.
He's on Comic View. He's done like writing for different things. I believe he wrote for like SNL. Yeah, he's got you know, stand up on Netflix. So what?
He wrote for Conan.
Right, he wrote for Conan O'Brien. That's right, absolutely. And he's got a stand up special on Netflix called Cold Hearted, which is actually very funny too.
Hilarious.
And you know, he was saying, as well as a lot of other people, even Dave Chappelle touched on it a little bit, who's behind me, if you can see, who's my favorite comedian of all time. Basically, they were talking about, you know, the art of stand-up comedy may potentially be, you know, a dying form. They're not quite sure where it's going to be in the future. Not to say that they're predicting it's going to die, but they're unsure because, as everybody can attest to, we live in a time right now that's just really hypersensitive. Everybody's talking about things that offend them all the time. Everybody goes quickly to social media. Everybody, you know, it just seems like even stuff you could say as early as 10 years ago on TV, online, in movies, different things like that, you can't really say anymore. And stand-up has always kind of been like that last stronghold where, you know, pretty much anything goes. They've censored TV a lot. They've censored movies a lot. Obviously, there are exceptions, right? Because you have things like Stars and HBO now, that are a lot more graphic than regular TV. But stand-up is really where you can voice your opinions and make them funny. You know what I mean? And you can talk about things like race. You can talk about things like gender. You can talk about things like religion, you know,
Sexuality.
politics, sexuality, all that type, you know, gender, all of that. But a lot of people now kind of feel like the stuff that you could say, even as a stand-up comic back in the 2000s, or maybe especially in like the 90s or 80s, during like, you know, the Def Jam and Comic View eras and different things like that, you can't really say anymore. So Thezz, I wanted to first get your take on what you think the current state of stand-up is, and how do you think it might be, what kind of transition, how do you think it might be within the next 5, 10, 20 years?
It is definitely different now, I guess. I mean, from when I started, I was 28 when I started, and then so I'm close to 40 now, but it's still kind of same, it's kind of different. Like, it all depends on where you are and who your audience is. Like myself, I've only performed at colleges maybe twice, if that, and both times I did it, it was I didn't have any rules. Like, I could say whatever I wanted. But there's colleges, if you go, they tell you what you can and can't say, and so that's the audience that they're geared to. It all depends on where you go and what the audience does. There's I don't want to say that. I guess everyone is hypersensitive. I wouldn't know if hypersensitive. They're just more vocal about shit they don't like. I'll say that much.
Like more responsive to, like, oh, I didn't like that.
Yeah. Instead, it's like just shutting the fuck up. If you don't like the joke, there's plenty of people to tell jokes. I think they're fucking stupid and dumb and shit like that. White comedians say nigger with the hardy R and stuff like that. That's the audience, and let them say it. I don't have to fuck with you. That's how there are people that be like, this guy needs to be canceled. No, he doesn't. That's his audience.
Don't go to his show.
Yeah. So do you think that it's more, do you think that first of all, let me ask, have you ever gotten a response from anybody from your shows talking about any, like, the jokes that you've said? Have you ever had any backlash or anything like that?
Not a joke that I've said, but I've seen other comedians get it. The only thing I've ever gotten like someone mad about, I have a joke about, it is a horrible joke that I still do to this day because people laugh at it. It's a joke about me kicking a woman down the stairs. So there's I set my profile picture to a pumpkin carving of it looks like a man kicking a woman down the stairs. And a woman got mad about it and posted on the picture or whatever. And she never saw me do comedy, but she just didn't like the picture. And I was like, oh, I really don't give a fuck. So she blocked me and I went on with my life.
Was it a white lady?
Yeah.
Oh, Karen. Anyways.
You was confirming what you already knew, like she was white, right?
I mean, we come on, we had to just wanted to make sure everybody out there. We already knew, but
I was speculating like, yeah, that sounds like a Karen move.
Yeah, but most of the time people get angry or drunk too. So it's like, I don't even know what the fuck they don't even get what the joke was about and just be all misconstrued. So I'm like, I don't even. But there's also some people just they're like rape jokes. There's that's a big thing. People don't like rape jokes at all. To me, comedy is subjective, and I feel like people they don't mean they don't like rape jokes. I don't think that's what they mean. They mean that they don't like rape jokes about women.
Because I mean, it is a trigger. It is a trigger for some people, right?
Yeah. But if you don't like rape jokes and you don't like no rape jokes, period. You don't like Chris Rock's tossing salad joke. That's a rape joke. Yeah,
there's a lot of rape jokes about like men in prison, right? That's right. It's a funny situation. The Boondocks, right? The Boondocks isn't stand up, right? But it's a comedy cartoon, right? And they did a whole episode about the Booty Warrior. If anybody's ever seen that, that episode, or if you're a fan of the Boondocks, that's a whole episode topic right there. And it was a hilarious episode, by the way. But I think that brings up a good point. I think a lot of times when it's geared more towards a woman, it's seen as a lot harsher, which obviously it is a very bad thing. We're not defending it here or anything, but got to throw the disclaimer out. But I can understand that it is a sensitive topic, and it's viewed more negatively connotated when it's a woman compared to a rape joke when it's a man. Because I feel like a lot of times people, I think it's also in the way people phrase it too, right? Because a lot of times when people are talking about, as a man, they kind of put like a lighter, goofier air to it. You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes people get a little bit more of a dark humor when it's towards a woman. Not all the time. For example,
I've heard like a dark one and a light one. It's like just being referenced rape jokes. Like some people just get angry, but to me, it's like you're not angry about rape joke. You're angry about the victim as a woman. It's not the funny is where you're angry. It's not rape jokes. There's a lot of rape jokes, but you just ignore them because it might be about a man or something else.
I think what Travis said too about it, if it's a woman, it seems like how you both as a woman seen differently. I think the reason why is because a woman is seen as more helpless and soft, and a man is seen as strong and masculine because you're a man.
If I'm in jail, I don't think I'm not a big dude. Me getting raped, that's not funny.
Right. Like, I know it's not. Right. But what I'm saying is I think that's a part of it. Like, oh, but you're a man, you're strong. You can fight them off. And it's like, no, I might not be able to. Like,
you might be strong, but that doesn't mean there's always somebody bigger and stronger.
Exactly.
Especially with that. Exactly. I'm not a small dude by any means. I mean, I'm 5'10", so I'm not the tallest nigga in the world, but I'm a big size dude, in stature. And even I don't shoot. My hair's too nice to go to jail. I'm not going there.
Oh my god.
But I mean, I think a prime example is oh shoot, I can't. I'm pointing at the wrong direction. Dave, in one of his stand-ups on one of his Netflix specials, he had the whole joke, the whole like scheme that he did, and this is how smart he is because he kind of intertwines his jokes at different parts. He comes back to it and circles back to him at different parts of the show. But he was talking about the superhero, that he saves but he rapes, right?
He rapes but he saves, was right. The line.
So and it was honestly a brilliant joke when you think about it. But I do remember he got a lot of backlash after that. But Dave survives. I think he's one of the rare comics that literally just is like undefeated with the media. He kind of rises above everything. Like backlash with him never seems to really hit him. Like the arrows always kind of miss. You know what I mean? Like he did get backlash for it, but he dodges them really well.
What else? He got backlash for the LGBTQ joke too, about the gay people in the front, the white dudes, the gay dude driving the car, and the lesbians, the black woman, and
all together.
Backlash for that. Funny joke to me.
I thought it was hilarious, but
subjective as fuck.
Right, it is subjective, and I think that too. Like for you as a comedian, do you feel like it's stuff that you won't touch, or do you feel like I'm gonna just say what I want?
I do say what I want, but also I keep it true to myself. There's stuff that I wouldn't really talk about or make fun of in real life, but I mean, I'm not going to take it to stage and be like, oh yeah, that's funny. Let me do that. If it's not something I would normally say in real life, right. I'm not going to. I joke about my grandmother because it's fucking hilarious to me, and I would say it in front of my grandmother. Right. But there's also some subjects like rape. I don't do rape jokes. That's not a thing I do. But if somebody else does it, if I don't like it, I don't like it. I ain't going to tell you, don't do that joke no more. Right. I ain't gonna tell the dude don't say nigga no more. Just go ahead and you get your ass beat.
I will say I feel like a lot of comics do know kind of where they excel, like where to pull their material from. You know what I mean? A lot of I've heard I've watched some interviews where I most recently Gary Owen on T-Pain's podcast, which is hilarious by the way, if anybody watches T-Pain's podcast. Gary Owen was talking about how when comedians get in their 40s, that's kind of like their golden era for comedians because they have like just enough life experience to where they're not too old where they're out of touch, but they have enough life experience to be relevant and talk about things with a certain intelligence, with a certain knowledge base. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times, he was saying once a comedian gets into like their 40s is when they're really at their best. And Kevin Hart, and different comedians like that, I think, once they get a little older, they start being able to pull more jokes about their family. They start intertwining their family more into their comedy material. I don't know if anybody watches this, a white guy, Sebastian Maniscalco. Does anybody know him?
What is he on?
He's got like, I think 3 or 4 Netflix specials. He's been on Comedy Central. He's been on like The Tonight Show. He's an Italian guy from Chicago. Really funny. Go watch Sebastian Maniscalco.
I may have seen him. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's really, really funny. And You know, I noticed like as he got older too. When he started, when I first saw him on TV, he was in his 30s, and now I think he's, you know, in his 40s. But, you know, I definitely started to notice he's pulling like more like family stuff like that. And even like for myself, like as you mentioned earlier, people when they post online, there's really like two types of Facebook comedians. One who literally just like copies and pastes everybody else's jokes in it and memes and rewrites it as their own, and people think they're hilarious. But then the other group, the people that are actually making their own material, for example, like Thezz and even myself, you know, because I don't really do that copy and paste and stuff. I either share where I got it from or like my own original statuses. For people like us in that group, we know when you're stealing somebody else's material, right? So we can see that. It's like, man, I've seen that meme 37 times, and you're gonna copy and paste it as your own, or rewrite it as your own. But
people like it because I guess I don't know, they don't get on the internet. I'd be like, how y'all not see? I saw this last year.
We saw it, yeah, like 2 years ago. but even then, when we're making our own material for just social media, we still like. I feel like even us, we still have certain ranges where we don't go. Like I'm with Thezz. I don't make any rape jokes or anything like that. I feel like it's a little too dark for my bag. But there are people who can spin topics around like that, and make controversy funny. You know, so I mean, I think it really just depends on where you're good at. But let me ask you the question. Like, do you think, and not even just for yourself, but just in general from comedy clubs and performing with other comics and different things like that, or even comedians that might be famous, do you think the backlash more so comes from people at the crowds, like in person, or people like at home, you know, online?
Both, because that's the weirdest shit about it. Like, it's people that they heard from somebody else about it. And, you know, that's the weirdest thing. Like, you taking what somebody else said, they said. But then there's the people that are at the show that don't like it. Like, I'll hear from other comedians, you know, they talk about in the show, like, someone come up to them and didn't like the joke for some reason. I'm telling you, 75% of the time is drunk people. And the other 25% of the time is just people that I think just didn't even come to laugh. They came to, I don't know what the fuck you came to come see. 25% I don't understand.
That's a really good point, because that's true. I never really quite understood the people who are there in person at the crowd who get mad at specific jokes. I think in my entire life, I might have only gotten mad at like one joke ever, and I'm not gonna go up to the comedian and say that, because you, at the end of the day, purchased a ticket to go to a comedy show. You already know what stand-up comedy is, and you're there to laugh. You know, why would you then cause a ruckus, you know, or get upset or start heckling the comedian and different things like that? Now, if the comedian's just bombing and everything he's saying is just not funny, you know, yeah, maybe say something to him then. It's like, yo, come on, get off the stage. You know what I mean? But
no, you're not supposed to do that.
No, I mean, you're not. But I mean, at least I understand why somebody might say something in that circumstance. But if
don't heckle.
Right. I always say don't heckle only because the comedian is a professional at telling jokes. Right. Yeah, so they're going to be funnier at roasting you than you are going to be roasting them. Right.
And
most of the time, but there's a lot of horrible comedians.
And two, I feel like the comedian has a microphone, so whether you're funny or not, I'm louder than you.
Right, they can hear your jokes. Right, exactly.
They're not going to hear you.
So that's the thing. But
keep over talking you. I will keep over talking you and just cut you off. Like, yeah, what else you got? All right.
You know who's actually really, really good at that is Mike Epps. Mike Epps is like a pro at battling hecklers. Yes. He's actually really funny. I've seen some YouTube clips of him battling hecklers online, and I mean not online.
That's just weird to me, but all right.
And but that's the thing. So I mean, but if the comedian's actually being really funny and the crowd is laughing, but he just happens he or she happens to say a joke that you don't agree with, you know, don't ruin everybody else's night. You know what I mean? Just keep that to yourself. Complain in the car to your spouse on the ride home. You know what I mean?
The worst reaction you can get out of telling a joke is no reaction at all. You can laugh or boo, but if you say nothing, that shit hurt.
Dead silence.
You're just like, well.
So, just to circle back towards the beginning. So I mentioned, Deion Cole and other comedians, different things like that. So just to ask the direct question, do you see stand-up comedy as something that is dying? Do you think that stand-up comedy is a dying art form? Because you know how like in dance people say that like tap dance is a lost art form or a dead art form. Do you think in the world of entertainment, in the world of, I guess, comedy in general, do you think stand-up specifically is a dying art form?
I don't think it's dying. It's comedy goes through cycles. It's like any like music, the genre that it changes. So we're guess we're in the middle of a cycle, but you never realize it until it's just over. But I think that's what we're in, a different kind of cycle. It's like Lenny Bruce was arrested for telling jokes today. It was like the norm. And then, you know, he paved the way for people to be able to say whatever fuck they want on stage without being censored. And, you know, like you said, you had the Def Jam and Conview stuff that could not probably pass today.
That was going to be my next question.
Well, and then that's what we're in the cycle right now. It's like comedians are, I don't know if we're hesitant, but here's the thing. To me, go up there and speak your truth. That's the bottom line. Go up there and speak your truth. If you have rape jokes and tell that shit weird, but go ahead and tell your joke. But it better be funny, because there's no canceling in comedy. Trust, nobody's getting canceled.
What do you mean? What do you mean nobody's getting canceled? There's been some folks that have gotten canceled in comedy now.
Like even Michael Richards still making money. He said nigger on stage. That dude's still making money.
Really? Because when's the last time you seen him on TV though?
No. You don't have to. That's what I'm saying. You're not getting canceled. He's still making money. He can still do stand up other places. I'll give you an example. My buddy Shane Gillis was fired from SNL. He got fired before he even started. Ever hear about that?
No.
Hey, you're fired on your day off.
The newest cast, it was like 2018, I want to say. The newest class that came in, it was Shane and two other people, a black girl, an Asian guy, and someone else. I can't remember their names though. But Shane got canceled before he even got on because it's something he said on his podcast. He got fired.
He got Nick Cannon.
Wow.
Well, he didn't own anything, but yeah. But he got fired before he even started SNL. And then a bunch of other comedians were talking about how he should have got canceled because of what he said and blah, blah, blah. Pretty much just a bunch of people didn't like Shane to begin with. It was like, I was like, And so they said he was going to get canceled and all that kind of stuff. Shane just came out of a special 2 weeks ago. I can't wait to see. I haven't seen it yet, but he's funny is funny. Funny will always win no matter what. It doesn't matter. Entertainment. If you are a horrible person and you make hot music, Kanye, people will still buy it.
I like how you slipped that in there.
So
how do you think really cancel culture, which is huge in every career field really now, but how do you think that plays a factor in stand-up now, right? I mean, because that's something that like I feel like other people never really had to deal with in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even to the 2000s to a certain extent. Like, how do you think, is it harder now as a comedian to prepare material, to come up jokes? Do you have to kind of work your way around certain things to avoid cancel culture?
No, there's probably people that get nervous about the shit they're gonna say. Like when I first started doing comedy, people like ask me like because they had jokes about racist shit, I'd be like, just say that shit, see what happens. Comedy is subjective. What I think is funny is not gonna be saying what these people think is funny. So you gotta try your shit out. It don't matter. Like I guess there's lines, but you should know as a person what line you can and can't cross. But then again, you don't know what kind of audience you're going out in front of. One audience might enjoy your joke. The next one might call the promoter and say, never have that dude back again.
So that's the thing. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great transition to what my next question was going to be. So now I feel like the biggest difference is you kind of have two audience every time you perform, right? Which is something that like most generations of comedians before us didn't have to the same extent, right? So I mean, you had like comedy DVDs and like stand-up DVDs and movies that came out and different things. So you had people like watching it at home, talking at water coolers, whatever, but their opinions weren't public. They didn't have a platform to put it out there. So part of comedy is knowing your audience, right? I know there's some comedians that, famous or non-famous, that have different sets that they do based on the crowd and the demographic that they come out to, right? You know, a lot of times, you know, when a comedian gets on stage, the first thing they do is, hey, how's everybody doing? You know, everybody having a good night, and they're kind of, you know, they do put some banter out there. One of the things that they're doing is also looking around at the crowd, kind of sizing people up to figure out, you know, if you know, which direction to take their jokes. But the tricky part that comedians now, you included, have, I think, is you have the people that you're talking to directly, you have the people there in person, but again, you have a larger online audience for, like, because nowadays anybody can videotape anything with their cell phone and post it online, right? So if you're at a comedy club in, I don't know, Pennsylvania or Florida or North Carolina or something, and you're having a great night and you're doing a great set based on who you see in the audience, somebody might be there recording that set, and they go home and post it on Instagram, they post it on Twitter, maybe post it on Facebook, different things like that. And now you have, depending on that person's following, you might have a few extra thousand or maybe even more people that now saw your set that might not have been in that demographic that you were aiming towards there in person. You know what I mean? So how does that kind of then factor into, like, your decision making?
It doesn't. I'm still, when I get to a show, if I know when I'm going to be on, I watch other people for me, and I watch the audience reactions to see what they laughing at, what they not laughing at. But you still get on stage, you surprised that this old white lady in the front row is nasty as fuck and likes these nasty jokes that you thought she wasn't going to like. It's surprising. You don't think that the biker group in the back is going to know your hip hop jokes. You never know until you say that shit.
Mm-hmm.
This is true. And I feel like we're kind of in a weird balance, because I know our generation, I know Thezz, you're a little bit like on the older side. Are you still, like, real question, are you still considered a millennial, or are you like right above millennial?
I was born in 1982. I don't know what I am.
You're like right there on that line, right? Because I think early 80s when they start counting millennials. But
yeah,
for like specifically like me and Mickey's generation here, I always find it weird how we have such a weird sense of nostalgia, right? Anything that has to do with our childhood or something, some type of pop culture reference in the past, our generation eats it up, right? So on one side, we have this thing where everybody wishes we had stuff like Comic View, stuff like Def Jam, you know, stuff like Original Kings of Comedy. We wish we had stuff like that now in today's world. But at the same time, like you touched on earlier, I'm not sure if those things could survive, right? Because Def Jam and even Comic View a little bit. Comic View was a little bit more censored because it was on.
Yeah.
But stuff like Def Jam was pretty outlandish, and a lot of the really great comedians that came up through there, you know, like the Bernie Mac.
It's not national. Like you have to go somewhere and see that. Like you might have to go to the club in New York, LA, or even Baltimore or wherever. Like every major town and city has their own kind of like niche or type of thing that they do, and it might not be as like Def Jam or Comic View, but you're going to see those type of comedians there, and sometimes they their own show or they just be there. But those jokes are still out there.
Yeah.
I think the closest thing we have now was actually the 85 South show. You guys watch that?
All the time.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Have you watched Miss Pat's show?
I saw the clip. I love Miss Pat.
I haven't.
I've seen 3 episodes and I had to watch them. I had to keep. I would watch an episode and then watch it again because this show is hilarious.
On YouTube?
It's BET Plus.
BET Plus. Oh, that's why I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I did, exactly. My brother was like, "You gotta check this out." I was like, "Let me get your code, Nick."
She was on the Breakfast Club maybe 2. I watched the Breakfast Club religiously. She was on the Breakfast Club maybe a year or 2 ago, like before COVID happened. And she just talked about like her life and her kids and her story. I was like, and she's naturally like funny. Even just her interview when she was talking, Charlamagne was like, "You need a show because you are funny." And she wasn't like, doing a set. She's just telling a story about her life. And her life, like her upbringing, like her story is crazy. So the show, I saw the clip with her son, and I think he was like watching porn or something. I saw that like clip.
Yeah, but she slammed him against that shit was hilarious. She slammed the door with him in it. That shit was hilarious.
What?
Yo, so funny.
Wait, who exactly is Miss Pat? Maybe I'm tripping.
If you've never seen Miss Pat, you just watch 5 minutes of her stand-up. Anything, it don't matter. Anything.
Maybe I've heard of her and just not recalling, but
and
I'm usually on top of this. I'm usually on top of all the exclusive online stuff. Every time someone goes, I'm missing out on this one. I'll go check it out. But okay, so stuff like Miss Pat, stuff like 85 South Show.
You'd be like, yeah, that I see why it's on. You got to pay for this because it couldn't be on CBS, NBC. I don't think it could be on HBO or Showtime.
Nah, they probably wouldn't get there. You know how the sponsorship be like, oh, we can't support this. Another comedian I think that is very controversial is like Corey Holcomb. I was like, yo, and I'm the person that nothing really offends me. I can laugh at everything. I was like, yo, he can't say this, but he just said it.
That's another person. A lot of stuff Corey says is his real life. It's
wild. He is wild with some of the stuff.
Very wild.
Speaking of cancel culture, he's almost been canceled a couple times, to be honest.
Exactly, but he's still coming back.
He don't care.
He got heat over when he made fun of Jess Hilarious when she did her new pictures with her son. He came out and was totally against that and all kinds of stuff. He got canceled for that, but he's still around. I'm trying to tell you, we don't get canceled. We just get so people forget, and then we back.
Part of that also was, again, you got to know your audience, right? So Jess Hilarious is a really good sport. Like she doesn't mind getting roasted. She roasts herself a lot. Like, I know her and DC Young Fly used to go back and forth all the time, roasting each other on social media or whatever. And I think she clapped back at Corey Holcomb as well. And I think it was all in good fun. But, you do got to be careful, like, who you're targeting, because not everybody is as good of a sport. You know what I mean?
I have true story. First time I met Jess Hilarious, it was a show. We did a show in Aberdeen at a barber shop.
What?
A barber shop?
We said what? It was after I was at a barber shop, and she headlined the show. That was the first time I ever met her. It was like what was this? 2000. It was right before like her Instagram really blew up. It was like 6 months later. She was like everywhere. I think it was like 2016, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What barbershop was this? Which one was this?
It was at the barbershop ain't there no more. It was on 40.
The Blue Building?
It's a Metro PCS right now.
Oh, okay. I used to get my hair cut for a while at a blue building. I can't remember what it was called. It was like New U or something like that. It was right on 40. But anyways, so that's the thing now, because I'm glad we brought up people like Just Hilarious, people like 85 South, because now I remember like at one point somebody did want to cancel Jess for something that she had said too. This was not that long ago. This is actually kind of recent, within like the last
she got canceled in Baltimore for a minute because she stole a joke.
So that's great, man. You're hitting all the transitions today. So when you talked about comedians don't get canceled, the one exception that I have habitually seen, and this ties into the Corey Holcomb thing as well, I'm on point with the transitions today, is comedians have actually been canceled for the joke stealing, right? So we've actually seen, and it's not just exclusive to the Black community. We've seen this with stuff like Carlos Mencia. We've seen this with stuff like Amy Schumer. We've seen stuff like this with people have even accused Robin Williams to a certain extent of stealing jokes. And even what's her name in the Black community, Leslie Jones from Saturday Night Live, she's been accused by Corey Holcomb and some other comedians of stealing jokes as well. So that is the one thing that I've seen. I feel like it's quicker. Sometimes comedians get canceled and the backlash is quicker from comedians themselves in the field than it is from viewers like us at home, because a lot of times we don't really know what's going on inside the world of comedy, but they know, right? Because they're the ones that are going to each other's shows. They're the ones that are working these different shows behind the scenes, writing their own jokes, whatever, and then they look up and maybe they worked with somebody and then now they see them at a show telling a certain joke. They catch on to that stuff really quickly. It's like, oh, you stole that from Tim, you stole that from Steve, you know what I mean? Like so a lot of times those are the ones that we do see canceled. Nobody, remember, Amy Schumer was huge for a while. She was like the biggest thing popping across America, mostly with white people. But
you get downgraded. Amy Schumer did steal jokes. She stole Chappelle's. I don't know how she thought she was gonna get away with stealing Dave Chappelle's joke. I really don't. How the fuck You put it on TV. That shit was
That's
weird.
dumb.
But she didn't get canceled. She got downgraded. She got a cooking show.
Carlos Mencia has been absolutely canceled. We have not seen that nigga in 10 years.
You think he's not like out there, but he gets booked at top clubs all the time. Because I know someone who travels with, like, he brings someone with him whenever he goes to LA or New York, all over. He's still making money off of comedy.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they're always gonna make some type of money in some type of way, but they're not seeing any of these like big checks anymore. They're not getting any airtime.
You're not gonna be where you are. You're not, but cancel to me means you'll never be seen again. That doesn't happen. Like you just anywhere. Get and you just.
Oh no! Even non-comedians, right? Even like movie actors or news anchors or any type of athletes that have been canceled, they still make money in some type of way, right? You don't just cut off every stream of income. But I'm talking about for what they're mostly known for, or the large checks of revenue that they're getting. A lot of that stuff does end up getting,
But stealing jokes will get you fucked up.
Oh yeah,
like physically.
Literally. Yeah,
like you will get fucked. I don't know why anybody was stealing my jokes, but I feel like if they did, I think the last person I fought was my little brother, and we were like 10. But I feel like if I ever heard somebody, or it's usually how it is word of mouth, like somebody's like, yo, what's the name, took your joke, and that's how it usually happens. It goes like Tiana and Jess Solaire. Someone told her that Jess stole your joke, and then there's video of it, and then there's video of Tiana telling that same joke, and you got the timestamp on it, and just like, ain't nothing you can do once you get caught about it. But
yeah, that's the thing. That is probably because comedians, they let a lot of stuff as natural, just like as a person. I feel like a lot of comedians are very thick skinned, right? Like Thezz was saying, they don't let a lot of stuff get to them. They deal with hecklers and a lot of stuff. But that's just the one cardinal sin that I've noticed is across the board in every culture, right? White, black, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. If you're a comedian, I feel like that's the one thing that the comedians really get pissed about is people stealing.
Who wants to work with you after that? No one wants to work with you after that. Yeah, if you go somewhere and be like, oh, whoever this person that steals jokes is on the same carpet, it's like, oh, I'm leaving. I'm not doing this open mic. I'm not doing this show.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Because I mean, when you think about that's their livelihood, right? It's like I said earlier, it takes a lot of work putting a set together. Even something as short as 15 minutes, you have a lot of work that goes into it. People might spend, when people see these Netflix specials or these Comedy Central specials or HBO specials that are an hour long, people don't realize the comedian on average takes 2 years doing tours around comedy clubs in the country, figuring out that set for 60 minutes. 2 years for a 1 hour special. It's not easy. So when people, steal other jokes, that's taking literally direct food out of your pocket. So I get it.
And you'd be surprised at how many of these 60-minute sets are stolen from somebody. Just like, people who are just starting out get their jokes stolen by somebody who is on TV. That shit is hilarious.
Yeah,
and ain't shit they can do.
Because it's like, how does it work? Is it like if I'm Dave Chappelle and there's somebody that just started comedy last week? Well, I know Dave Chappelle would do that. I'm using it as an analogy, but
I get you.
But if I say, "Oh, I like that," and it's like, "Hey, that's my joke," like Dave Chappelle wouldn't take that from you. Like
exactly. Here's what happens sometimes. Sometimes they will offer you money, be like, "Yo, I like that joke," and they will offer you some amount of money for it. Like you either take it or you don't. Either way, they're gonna take your joke. So either you take the money and they're gonna be on TV saying your joke and you can't say it no more, or you just shit out of luck.
So they're like, "Hey, $50 for that joke," and you're like, I need gas.
There was they offer you like a couple K.
Okay.
And then you either take it or you don't.
Sometimes I do feel like comedians be getting a little out of hand with it though. I recently saw Cat Williams tried to accuse Cedric the Entertainer of all people of stealing one of his jokes. One of the jokes from Kings of Comedy. Cat Williams said that was his joke first. And then Cedric came online and like shut that down real quick. He's like, "Listen, bro, I'm an OG in this game. I've been doing this long since before you were famous. I didn't steal that joke. That was my joke. I've been doing that for years and years."
Did
that
he
joke
say which
is like
one
30
it was?
years old. I think it was, if I remember correctly. I don't want to misquote, but if I remember correctly, I think it was the one where they were when he was talking about niggas going to space. Like if white people go to space, niggas are also going to go to space. And he was riding in the car, in the old school car.
He was parking the
with the rocket ship or whatever. I think it was that joke. I think Cat Williams was accusing him, and Cedric was like, "Bro, that joke is older than you." He's like, "I've been doing that joke for a long time." He shut that down because sometimes, obviously, a lot of people are doing comedy, right? So you have sometimes where you might do something that could be kind of similar to what somebody else is doing. It happens, but when you have a guy like Cedric, who's battle tested, well respected, never heard any controversy, never heard any other comics accusing him of stealing jokes, who seems like his stuff is real original to him that you don't really hear from other comics. It's just like, I think that was the wrong tree to bark up. But
but I'm saying, like, you writing jokes that's like, you know what I mean, and you feel really good about a joke, and then you hear somebody else say that's like you taking, it's like somebody just going to your bank account and taking money and just staring at you in the face as they take money, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. I'm gonna fight. If you hear anybody tell a chicken skin condom joke, let me know.
I will, because that actually was really funny.
They got a lot of bodyguards, but if you go to a Dave show and he's talking about some Royal Farms chicken, you be like, oh.
Yeah, I already know. If I hear anybody in the Baltimore area pull out a chicken skin joke from Royal Farms and a chicken condom joke,
I gotta hear this.
I already know. It's like, I seen that already, nigga.
Yeah, you call them out. Yeah, let's shut up, nigga. Go on.
That's not you.
You gotta tell. You gotta tell us after we wrap so I can hear it. So I'll know. So I can also be like, hey, Thezz, I heard your joke. If VA, somebody's stealing your stuff.
Yeah. I got goons everywhere. I'll find them.
We all out here. I
got the Tims ready.
Yeah.
I have two questions for you. The first one, since we were talking about different comedians, I know it might be hard to choose, but who would you say is your favorite comedian, or who's the comedian that inspired you to do stand up?
It wasn't really, I wouldn't say there's like one. It's just like we all grew up, watching Comic View and Def Jam, stuff like that. And when I was a kid, so Def Jam, Comic View, that's early 90s. So I'm like, 10, 11, 12 years old watching that. So everybody that came on was funny to me. Like, I remember a whole bunch of comedians by their name that I've never seen again, but I still remember their jokes and stuff like that. Comic View the same way. And then, once that was over, like that's all black people had was to get on, was Comic View and Def Jam. And once that got over, and then a surgence again came of black comedians. You're like, oh, I remember him from that show and this and that.
Right.
Like to pinpoint, I have favorite comedians, but I don't think there's anybody inspired. I guess they all inspired me.
Right. Would you say like a if you had to pick three, like off the top of your head, who would you pick to say like this person is like perfect at this craft?
It's like just who are the funniest to me, or who I think are
like funniest to you, like to like, even if you weren't a comedian, you're like, yo, I would definitely pay to go see this person's set. Like
Tony Roberts. Tony Roberts is hilarious to me. Tony Roberts is like, if you've never seen him, Tony Roberts. I
love Tony Roberts. I know exactly what you're talking about.
He just says off the top of his head, like, that shit don't make sense. How did you think of something that's? I can't tell jokes like that. Like, I wish I could tell jokes like Tony. Just say the silliest shit and like, what? Do
you remember? Not to, I know you're doing your top three. There's a joke that Tony Roberts told. It was on I forgot the name of the stand up, but he had the leather. He was he had the leather suit on, like, and he was doing like an Eddie Murphy like tribute type of thing. And he told the joke about, he said, when you pick your teeth, do you eat the meat? He's like, and it's funny because you're like, wait, do you? And he was like, so y'all don't eat the meat? Tony Roberts is like you said, he just says whatever, but it makes you think. He's
the simplest shit, and he makes it so hilarious. Like I sometimes I do it in conversation sometimes, but he has that ability just to think shit and then write it and make it funny, which is amazing to me. Will Savance, I love Will Savance. He's a Haitian comedian. I don't know if you guys ever seen the show Flatbush Misdemeanors. He's on that show. It's a really funny show.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Dave and some more.
Love some more.
Some more is hugely underrated.
Mitch Hedberg, I like his. I could never write one-liners like that ever. Mitch Hedberg was always funny to me. The shit he said, I could never write like that. Most of my jokes I try are more storytelling now, which I had to teach myself how to do because I tell stories like a man. So I had to teach myself how to not do that.
Go straight to the point. Yeah.
I say tell stories like a man.
Yeah, I know exactly. Everybody watching at home. I think we've even touched on this on the show at some point, Mickey.
Yes.
We were just very guys when we tell stories, very who, what, when, where, why, right?
Yeah.
Versus me, I tell you like, oh, the weather was nice and my hair was curly that day.
You get like 2-3 side stories in the story. And
That's how I really tell stories in real life. So I had to teach myself how to, put this here, bring it back here, call back, add some little silly shit right here that don't even might make sense later on. Maybe it won't. I don't know.
Right.
A lot of the greatest comedians of all time are really exceptional storytellers. That is something, and that's a white or black thing. That comedians.
Kevin Hart's a great storyteller, but people don't like. I don't understand. But Kevin Hart's a great story.
Yeah, he is.
Great story.
And he paints a picture for you to for you to mentally go, oh, I see that. Like when he told the story before you even got to see his dad. When I saw his dad, I was like, that is his dad.
Yep.
I was like, you're exactly how I pictured you. Like how I pictured you.
And I'm glad you brought that up. That's a really a really good skill of his that people don't talk about enough. You know what I mean? He actually is exceptionally well. I think that's when his stand-up really started taking off, is when he kind of perfected that craft of storytelling there. Another great storyteller, people gonna hate it, but Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby might be the best storyteller that Comedy Game's ever seen.
Chocolate cake joke?
Oh my gosh. The one about the baby on the airplane? If anybody's ever seen his 1983, I want to say, his stand-up special from that called Himself. Oh my gosh, you will die laughing during that stand-up.
I remember loving seeing that come on HBO when I was a kid. I would watch it every time it came on.
And he didn't curse in it, right? Because he never cursed, right?
Sinbad is hilarious to me. I remember watching every Sinbad special that came on.
Sinbad is
he doesn't get enough credit too, because even when he was like I think he hosted Apollo for almost like 10 years, maybe. I would watch every episode, and I would just watch just to see like his little cuts of time in between bringing people up. He's just always hilarious. And then as an actor as well too. I loved him as an actor, but I was like,
on A Different World, he was hilarious.
Hilarious.
Listen, the different world episode when he cooked for Jaleesa, and he said and Freddie got drunk, and she was like, "Oh, the room is spinning," and Ron was like, "You know what? I think she's been drinking." And Sinbad goes, "Don't mama like you?"
Hilarious. I know exactly that episode you're talking about too. And he had the oven mitts on when he said it. That was the funniest part. He's like pointing at him with the oven mitt. And the episode when he was with Jaleesa, when she tried to set him up like with the island chick over the phone. Oh, one of my favorite A Different World episodes of all time.
I don't mean to cut you up, but DMV area has, to me, the best homegrown comedians out of any. I'll pick Chicago. Chicago is probably debatable, but
I was gonna say you might want to throw New York in there, sir. What do you mean?
I can't, but I will tell you, we got on like every level of funny. Like we got Martin, we got Monique, Tony Woods, who is Dave Chappelle, great.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting.
Dave Chappelle, props to Dave. I'm trying to tell you, you look at early Dave Chappelle stuff, you like that's Tony's voice. That was who he mentored and who Tony mentored him growing up. We got them. We got Dave, Judah Freelander, Pat Oswalt, Amy Schumer.
Amy Schumer ain't from here.
She went to Towson.
She went there for college, but she didn't grow up.
No, she's from Maryland. I swear to goodness, she's from this area. Really? She went to Towson.
Oh wow!
I think she went to Towson Catholic for high school.
Oh wow! I have to Google that one. You might be onto something.
And then Donna Rollins too, because he's from Alexandria, but people just say he's from DC.
There's Darius Bradford. There's a whole bunch of like people that did Brad Grant.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Red Grant was from down south somewhere.
He's from DC, from Southeast.
Oh
yeah,
wow!
He went to school down there though. He went to school.
That might be it. I was just about to say. I thought I remember him.
And Chico Bean.
Chico. Yeah.
Okay, Chico Bean. This is true. Okay. Oh, that's a good transition. Good job, Mickey. So the last topic I really wanted to touch on with you before, we wrap things up here. Another reason why why I hear people talk about why comedy might be dying is because of the essence of like where the comedy pool is coming from now. So like if you look at specifically Black culture, specifically in the Black community, it's rare that we have more than one or two really star comedians at one time. The Def Jam era was an exception because they had a platform for so many comedians, right? And then we'll get into why today I think is also an exception. But other than that, if you look at time, right, you had like Flip Wilson, right, which a lot of people don't really remember because he's a little bit past our time. He was, a big trailblazer. You had Red Fox, right?
So I think that was the first Black sketch show, right?
I think so. I'm pretty sure it is.
I think it was. It was like the late 60s.
Yeah, it was in the 60s.
Yeah.
You had Red Fox. Then you had like, the Richard Pryor, Bill Cosby era, right? Then you had, Eddie Murphy, right? Mm-hmm. And then you start getting into, the
Martin.
That's kind of when I was going to say you have the Martin, you had Chris Rock, but then you also had Def Jam coming up. All right. And then they transitioned into, the Steve Harvey and Cedric the Entertainer with the original Kings of Comedy. But then you got into Dave Chappelle when he was, at his, I think his peak. His stuff is really funny now.
Yeah, he's still peaking now.
I think he was even more funny at that point. During the same time, like before and during the Chappelle show. But then after that, you had Cat Williams. Then after Cat kind of declined a little bit, he was still putting out really funny material. But then you saw the resurgence of Kevin Hart, right? So it's kind of been a timeline where we've had like one or two people at a time outside of the Def Jam era. But now, I think another reason why people are saying comedy is dying, and this is more so coming from even some people inside of the comedy world, is because almost everybody now seems to be coming from social media, right? All the famous comedians now seem to come up through Vine, if y'all remember Vine, or Snapchat or Facebook or Instagram, right? We just talked about Just Hilarious. We talked about DC Young Fly. You know what I'm saying? You brought up Chico Bean, right? Even though Chico did start up with stand-up. Right. But Chico is kind of a rare exception now where you don't have as many people like Chico and even Carlos Miller who came up doing stand-up first before they got viral on social media. Right now,
and then a lot of TV.
Right. And TV. Right. But now I feel like a lot of times people make their names on social media first and then branch out into stand-up. Right. Kev on Stage, Just Hilarious, different things like that. DC Young Fly.
No, Kev started
Kev had his own.
He had his little church group, and then he started doing
right. But
Playmakers.
But he made a national name. He before his stand-up blew up, before people knew him for stand-up, he might have been known like locally out in like Washington or whatever. He really started making his name with like Facebook videos, Instagram videos.
So Ryan Davis, I guess you could put in there too.
Ryan Davis. Yeah, there's tons of names you can throw out there. You know what I mean? Everybody from ADD. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Is it because people don't go out to watch comedy?
I don't think so. I think a lot of people still go out to watch comedy. I know a lot of people. I'm a huge fan of comedy shows. I think there's a lot of people who still view that as a good date idea, still view that as a good outing. You know what I mean? I've seen almost every time I've gone to a comedy show, the place has either been packed or near packed. Obviously, this is all pre-COVID, but before COVID, every time I went to a comedy show, the seats was almost always filled.
But I think to your point, there's like how you said, do you think people go out? I think like there's people like Travis and me too. I haven't been to a show probably in like a year, but there's artists comedians I wanted to see that the tickets were sold out. But there's some people that they only want to get on their phone for 5 or 10 minutes and go, I'm just going to check out, my favorite comedians on social media.
How do you find the new person if they going to go see who they like? Like how? what I'm asking is like when you go to comedy show, you just going to go just to see whoever. People don't do that as much anymore. It's like unless you like New York, LA, Austin, someplace like that has a scene going on. Like people won't go like if they just live in like Lincoln, Nebraska, they got a comedy night. They probably won't go unless it's somebody like they know. It might be some funny people in Lincoln, Nebraska that night, but they just ain't gonna go. So how do I guess that's why a lot of comedians do stuff on social media.
Oh yeah, they definitely build their brand that way easily. Yeah. But I feel like there's almost a little bit of an internal beef after watching some things in the comedy world where you have like a lot of the older vets that grew up in the harsh reality of stand-up, because stand-up kind of hardens you when you're coming up, right? You got to build that tough skin through experimenting through the crowds, during practicing and writing different jokes and seeing what's working and what's not. And I feel like I don't know, I don't want to say it's jealousy. I don't know if it is jealousy, but I feel like there's a little bit of tension, because the way that they feel about a lot of these new social media comedians is like they didn't have to go through what we went through. They could just post skits online, and then they try to do stand up and they realize they can't do stand up. I've heard like a lot of different comments like that. How do you feel about maybe newer people who that's all they knew is social media? They never really had to practice stand up the same way.
I mean, that's true. Like it will get you, if you're a viral comedy person, if you do internet comedy, it will get you in the door a lot quicker than having to go to open mic or having to network and do stuff like that. Like you will get in the door quicker, but once you're on stage, if you're not funny,
you're not funny.
That's the thing too. A lot of these social media comedians
might come see you, but if you suck ass, hey, I just opened for you. I'm taking everybody. I was way better than you. People are coming to my show. But then after the show, like, you're way funnier than the headliner. I'm like, yeah, I know.
I've actually heard of a lot of social media people, especially like in Vine, that have really bombed because when you think about it, they're more so known for doing skits, right? And people don't realize skits are completely different than stand-up. They're both funny, they're both comedy, but they're not the same thing. And I think people like DC Young Fly,
That 10 seconds ain't cutting it on stage, buddy.
Right. Yeah. You need to be funnier for a lot more than 10 seconds. And I think people like DC Young Fly are actually really, really smart, because what he did was he blew up on social media first and then went on to Wildin' Out, but then tried to branch out into stand-up. But he realized, like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to actually go into real comedy clubs and hone my craft. And he had people like Carlos that was mentoring him and different things like that. So he kind of took a step back and humbled himself and built himself up through comedy clubs before he really started getting really into stand-up with like 85 South and stuff like that. So I think he did it a really smart way. But a lot of these internet comedians aren't willing to take the time to go and do that and figure out, okay, how do I come up with an actual set? How do I come up with written jokes? How do I come up with real material that's going to be, not only quality, but timeless? You know what I mean? So,
and then too, I was going to ask that, do you feel like if you have just like if I'm a social media person and I do clips and skits, do you feel like they should pay like how DC did, where he was like, hey, I know I can't just dive right from social media into comedy. Let me take a step back and perfect my craft, but also respect the greats that came before me. Do you feel like the comedians that do that have a better chance if they start from the beginning and not necessarily, I don't want to say skip the line, because I don't feel like social media people skip the line, but it's a different time. 2021 versus 1990 is two different times in comedy. So
I've talked to people like people like Timmy Hall, who's done Comic View and Def Jam, but he's also from Baltimore. And when he's on Def Jam, he's in his early 20s. It was a lot different back then. It was I wouldn't say it was easier, but there weren't as many comedians, but those people that were on Def Jam and they was funny as hell, but there wasn't a lot of them as many as there are now. I guess it's still, I wouldn't say easier, but the opportunities, I guess, are a little bit more easier. Like it's all about for promoters about money. So if they think they can book you and get some people in there, they'll book you. But if you don't deliver, then it's your last time. And also going back to about doing the work, it depends on you. I mean, I guess on the comedian. Like I used to do Richard Pryor's daughter. She started doing comedy around same time I did, and she was going to open mics and doing the same thing everybody else was. But this is fucking Richard Pryor's daughter is going to open mics in the city, honing her craft. Like she could get on anywhere the fuck you want because she's Richard Pryor's daughter. And also, on TV before. She did a ton of shows. She was on Head of Class and all kinds of shit like that. But she wasn't like, Rain was cool as shit. She wasn't like non-approachable or any of that shit. Like,
right.
I've been on a few shows with her. The shit was fun as shit.
Yeah, I think sometimes celebrity children, kind of get it, right? Because when you walk down if they're walking down the street, you don't just recognize them, right? People know your dad. They don't necessarily know you, right? So I feel like a lot of times they still got to humble themselves, but I realize that like, okay, if I'm in a crowd of people might not know who the hell I am. You know what I mean? So it's like,
I knew who she was. We were doing a show in front of a bunch of white people. They didn't know who the fuck she was. I was like, y'all don't know who the fuck until they say introduce her and
right, but that's my point. People don't recognize her just from her face. If you knew her last name, it's like, okay, that might perk some ears. But if you just saw her face, like, I don't know who the hell that is. You know what I mean? Like, all right, so we got to wrap up. But real quick, three quick questions. Go ahead, Nick.
I had one question too.
Go ahead.
For as a comedian, what does success look like to you? Like, what do you want if you could snap your fingers right now as far as success, whether it's recognition, whether it's traveling more, whether it's like a certain lifestyle that you want, or maybe like credibility. What does success look like to you as a stand-up comedian?
What it would be for me?
Right, for you personally.
I want to put on everybody in the DMV. Like I want to be able to like just put on a show and just that the talent that we have here is crazy. There's people that I know who stopped doing comedy that are funnier than more than half the people you see on TV. If I showed you that shit, be like, yo, you don't do comedy anymore? But like, yeah, the talent that we have here is crazy. I would love to put on like and just show the world nation what we have here in this from DC, Maryland, Virginia, and then some parts of PA, even those people we hang out with all the time, stuff like that. The talent hit crazy. So I try to tell people like if there's a local comedy show where you are, go check those people out. So I'm trying to tell you, they are next. There's Seymour Funny. If you ever see them, definitely check them out because all of them are funny. Maria Sanchez, D-Lo, Danielle, Ray, who else am I missing? I can't remember who else. I think there's one more I'm missing, but hilarious. But that's success me putting on everybody in the DMV because
people on.
Basically, like kind of creating, I guess maybe a platform or an outlet. Like I guess maybe if you could create like a Def Jam for specifically people in that area. I see that. That's cool.
I like that. That's such a like commendable thing because you weren't like, yeah, I want to be a billionaire. You're like, no, I want to help other comedians.
I'll run out of that shit tomorrow. I've died 17 roll farms and have a baby, and then on accident
with Topanga.
I like how you wrapped it back in.
You see that? Comedy. I'm telling you. Wrap it back in. Circling. I'm on point today. So anyways, 3 quick questions, Thezz, before we wrap up here. Right. Number 1, what advice would you give to people who are coming up in the comedy game, people who aspire to be stand-up comedians?
Keep writing and tell that shit on stage.
Perfect. It's very, very, very concise.
Don't
Number 2,
if this is funny, go on the stage, say that shit.
Oh, that's actually really good. I'm glad you lumped that little last bit in there because that's actually, I think, even more priceless than the first part. Yeah. Because I feel like a lot of times we kind of get caught up in the fact where, like, even myself, if I tell a joke, even like if I'm hanging out with friends, if I tell a joke and people around me ain't laughing, I'm like, oh, that wasn't funny. But if I told that to another group of people, that actually, they might have liked it, right? So I feel like you never really know who's gonna think what is funny. So yeah, I think that's actually really good. Don't listen to your friends. Make sure you get second opinions, right? You do the same thing with a health concern with a doctor, right? You want a second doctor opinion. Why not do it in comedy.
Don't go on WebMD and go, am I dying? Actually, go to the hospital.
Bruh, I'm the worst with that. I go on WebMD all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got 3 hours to live.
Oh, I thought you said, I said check your own prostate. And I thought you said, yeah, I did that.
No, whoa, wait a minute.
You could do that. I mean,
listen,
I don't think that's
I wasn't judging. I wasn't judging. I don't know. I'm not trying to find. Ask Trick Daddy.
I don't think that's. That's why he's here, ladies and gentlemen. Go watch his stand-up show. Hey, shout out to Trick Daddy. Hey, whatever you do in your spare time, nigga.
Hey, listen, we don't shame people for what they like. Whatever you like, as long as you're being safe, you have.
Gabrielle Union like the ED Waves booty, so I mean, hey, listen, it works.
Hey, that's rich people's business.
We should have known. We should have known back in Love and Basketball when she was talking about licking the sweat off a Q's booty. I peeped that. I rewatched that movie again the other day, and I was like, "Oh, it makes so much sense now." We should have known back then.
I didn't remember hearing her say that.
Remember that scene where she gives that note to Monica in the basketball stands?
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, good Lord, look at that booty! I just want to lick the sweat off it." I was like, we should have known. That was it. Gabrielle been nasty.
Oh my God.
She been freaky. That probably wasn't even in the script. That, like you said,
she put it in.
And you see, look, who she ended up with? A basketball player. Look at his booty. Look at that.
That's manifesting at its highest level. Like I'm going to
manifest. She spoke that into existence. That's wild. All right, please don't sue us. Third quick question. Where can everybody go find you?
I missed 2. What was the second question? Okay. Third question.
Number 2. Yeah, you're right. Well, we'll say that later. Number 2, where can people find you?
I'm host open mic at State Theater in Havre de Grace every third Thursday of the month. You can find Big Time in Comedy. If anyone wants to try out comedy, or you have been doing comedy, sign up through Big Time in Comedy. I'm just the host, so don't ask me if I can get on because I just host. It's in Havre de Grace at State Theater. That's every third Thursday, and then I'll be in I think I'll be back in Hartford County in October, and Falston somewhere. I'm very horrible at knowing. Don't.
Wait.
We've never got that answer in all our episodes. We've never had nobody say that.
I have 3 different personalities. I have a Twitter personality, I have a Instagram personality, and a Facebook personality. If I don't know you, I'm not accepting it. Everything's private for a reason.
I got you. Okay.
So he just talked about people not getting canceled, but he's making sure he don't get canceled.
I want the fucking weirdos. So many weirdos out there that I don't know. I'm like, how did you get here? I feel like
do you have a YouTube or anything as far as like a website where people could go just to see your content, or they will have to come see you in person?
You gotta come see me in person. I don't give like. I'm so glad you didn't ask me to tell a joke, because that's another advice for the people. Don't stop putting all your sets on YouTube. Mm-hmm. Then why are they gonna come see you, dummy? I see you for free on YouTube. Exactly.
Or I was gonna say, don't put your set on YouTube until after you've gotten paid for it.
Yeah.
Like, once you've gotten paid for it in person.
Yeah, put it like a clip. Don't put the funniest joke or put the funniest joke you got on. That's why I'm just put like 10, 15-second clips on there, and that's it. And then don't put there's comedians starting, they put their whole sets online. That's stupid.
Like just put teasers, you're saying.
You throwing away
money. It only works
money.
for the 85 South show.
Right.
What's that?
I said it only works for the 85 South show. They put their whole show online.
But they're improv though.
Yeah,
right,
and people
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's improv. Yeah. But I'm talking about comedians. Like, that's your set. That's what you're gonna do when they come see you. Stupid.
Right. Like if anybody's a superhero movie fan, The Dark Knight, what the Joker said: if you're good at something, never do it for free.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. Now that I can't count, the actual third question is just to summarize everything. Do you see stand-up comedy still being around 20 years from now?
Absolutely. It's going to be totally different what it is now. like the internet shit might even be gone. It might be like people doing holograms and shit like that. It's like, yo, I'll pay you to do a hologram. They pay you, and you do you can do your set from the living room, and people watch you doing a hologram like the Coachella Tupac shit. Might be like that. Who knows? But technology will always keep going. And then, like when COVID was happening, everybody was doing their shit on Zoom, and that's how you did comedy.
That's why we're here on Zoom.
That's what I was gonna say. That's why we're on Zoom.
We was there shooting in person.
Yeah.
Technology will always take this to another level, even if the comedy will still be offensive to somebody. That's not going to change at all. But how you get your comedy is going to change in the next 20 years.
Very well said.
Nice.
Anything you want to add, Mick?
My questions, I think I got all of them out, and I think that a lot of people will learn more about stand-up from this conversation, as far as like, you know, the ins and outs and what to look for. And even if somebody's thinking about doing stand-up, I think you covered a lot of important things. And I know I would never do it, but if I wanted to, I would.
It's therapy. I swear to goodness, it's so.
I was about to say I might take you up on that. I might start doing some of them.
You should. I honestly,
boyfriend, talk about them on stage. People gonna think it's funny, but you being truthful.
I think even though I tell Travis like you're not funny, he is funny. He has jokes that I do laugh at, even though sometimes I'm like, I hate you, but you are.
Mother says it all the time. As soon right before she starts laughing, she says that shit ain't funny, and then she start laughing.
And she start laughing. You're like you're confirming that I am funny, but okay, you're just
yeah. I'm saying, listen, if you can't be cute, niggas, be funny. That's all I'm saying.
I'm take my head off.
Right. Got that Carlos Miller going on. Speaking of hair, can we give a shout out to Mickey real quick? We're getting his hair laid on our screen right now. Hey. Like light skinned Jill Scott or something over there. What's up, Mickey?
I can't.
She get one night boyfriend, all of a sudden her hair be laid every episode. I know y'all been peeping this at home.
My hair was laid before I had a man, and it's laid now. But thank you, I appreciate it. You said what?
I didn't know you before. Okay, so is the man changed? Is that what you're saying, Trav?
No,
that's absolutely. Don't let her fool you. Go back and watch that one.
You can go back last year before we got together, and my hair was done.
She got the nice little green auntie sweater on.
He actually bought me the sweater.
I knew it. Look at this. She got the JC Penney jewelry on. She out here doing something. What's up? Let's go, Mick.
Hey, yo, chill. Yo, I can't, yo.
All right. Without further ado, everybody, thank you again for watching another episode of the Good and Terrible Show. Please, if he allows you to, go follow Thezz online. I promise he's really funny.
He said no. Just look at his profile picture and go, this nigga's hilarious.
Yeah. Catch him after he got laid or something. After he got laid, he'll be in a better mood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Come to a show and introduce yourself. Because that's how normal people do things.
Right.
Yeah, this is true. Or at least that's how they did 20 years ago. But I promise he's really funny. Go watch his stand-up set. I promise it's actually really, really funny. He did a show down here in Virginia. Had me rolling in the back.
That was the first time I did the chicken skin condom joke too.
See, and he's gonna repeat it for Mickey once we start rolling here, so y'all don't get to see it. But if you go to one of his stand-up shows, y'all actually get to see it. Y'all learn all about his love for Royal Farms and his love for Topanga from Boy Meets World. And without that, this is that's Mickey over there.
Hi.
Over there. And I am Travis over here, and we thank y'all for watching. Y'all have a blessed day.